Alan Stratton from Woodturning. A while back I made a bunch of eccentric magic wands for aspiring wizards. After that my son got married and I have a new daughter-in-law. She's into music, piano, organ, and leads music at church. So I offered her one of my magic wands to use as a baton to lead the music with. But she thought that something more traditional would be more appropriate for that church environment. Now, I would have thought that all she needed was a long stick in order to lead the music. Turns out there's more of an art to an appropriate baton than a magic wand. Now, for a baton, it needs to be the distance from the director's elbow to the fingertips. In her case, 14.5 inches. That's a good point, okay? Now, the other point for her is, with it being 14.5 inches, we need to make sure that it can be stored appropriate and not get broken. So this one will be collapsible. Has a little bit of stretchy cord between the handle and the main part so that it can actually fold down and come apart. The cord attaches to a small end on the other end. So let's make a music director's baton for Sarah.
I'll start with a chunk of walnut for the handle. I've mounted it in a set of long-nosed jaws and brought up the tailstock. After some rounding, I'm cutting a tenon so it can reverse mount into the jaws more securely. With the wood reversed, I'll clean it up a little bit, then drill a 3/8 inch hole clear through what will be the handle portion. Now for the fun part, spindle turning this beautiful walnut. This handle will be fairly simple, a larger end where the blade will join, followed by a bead. On the other end will be a simple flare. After wasting most of the wood, I'll switch to a skew to refine the surface. Then it's time to sand up through the grits and finish with a mixture of mineral oil and beeswax. Finally, part off the handle and touch up the end. Oops, I didn't catch this one. Since I have enough walnut left, I'll make the small button for the end of the handle from the same piece of wood. I'll attack this with a skew and some peeling cuts first. Then cut a tenon that will connect it to the handle. This is a good opportunity to use my wrench tenon cutters to get it close, then clean up with a skew. Then quickly drill a small hole in which I'll glue the elastic later. Finally, test the fit and the look with the complete handle. And part it off. Looky, I caught this one. Now for the blade portion. This will be more challenging, primarily because it is so thin. I'll rough it round. I just wish I had a longer tool rest on this small lathe. I'll cut a short tenon on the end to connect the blade to the handle, but in the meantime, I'll use it to mount the blade on the chuck. Now to reduce the diameter of the blade, I've cranked the lathe speed up to max, and I'm trying to make light cuts with a gouge. Even then, I'm getting some very nice chatter effects. If only I wanted chatter here. Finally, I'll switch to a skew. To get a uniform taper, I'll sand the blade with 120 grit sandpaper on a small wood block. For all other grits, I'll sand without, then finish with oil and beeswax, and part off the end, and touch up the end. I had trouble drilling a hole in the middle of the blade tenon. The bit kept drifting off. Finally, I decided to see if the blade would fit reversed in the chuck and protruding through the headstock. Happy days, it worked. I glued one end of a hairband elastic in the button end with CA, then carefully estimated the length I would need for the blade and glued the other end in the blade. Now, Sarah's music baton is ready. I like the collapse and fold feature. The blade was more challenging than a wizard's wand because it is thinner and more uniform. I'm happy with it. I hope she is also. Please click the like button on this video and subscribe to both my website and YouTube channel. Always wear your face shield, unless you don't need to see out of that other eye anyway. Until next time, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.